Hello and welcome back to the building of the Mini Playboy. It's time to start tackling the fuselage, and the first thing I have to do is to decide the power plant, and in this case I'd like to make use of this lovely little DC 0.75 Merlin. Now I've had this engine since I was about 15, 16, I believe it's as far back as that. And I'd like to make use of it in this sort of nod to nostalgia. The first issue is the design actually calls for a Cox engine of about the same capacity, but the issue is that it's actually mounted from the rear. So the first thing I have to do is adapt this design to allow for some engine bearers to be incorporated into it, but it also has another clever little trick up its sleeve, and that is this whole front section that houses the undercarriage and the engine is removable. And if I just swivel round a little bit and we look at these formers here, these formers, the front one which holds the engine and the undercarriage, and the plate behind which has an access hole, allows one to get into the plane for the batteries and other radio paraphernalia. There's a hatch on the bottom, and by removing this plate at the front, one can have access through the front of the fuselage to put the batteries in, I would think is the main issue. But that also means that I can actually swap and change engines over quite easily. So what I'm going to do now is start hacking away at a few bits of plywood, and I'll show you my ideas on how I'm going to mount this engine in this design. Be back in a moment. Well, after a little bit of work with the fret saw, this is what I've actually come up with. Two plates there together. This will remain as part of the fuselage, and there's an aperture there which will allow access to get in, for example, the receiver and the battery pack in through the front, through here. And this is the engine mount. Hardwood bearers which are actually located through the firewall. Side cheeks to add some rigidity. It's all been clamped and epoxied. I'm making use of an ancient control line fuel tank that I soldered up years ago. This will be retained onto the fuselage bulkhead with some T-nuts which I've just ordered, which will go through there, and the whole thing can be clamped onto the front like that. If I want to, I can beautify it and add bits and pieces to it. I might even just leave it quite utilitarian like that. And if I ever need to change the engine, I think in practicality, it only took us about an hour to do this. I would just make a different block to go on the front and then mount it on. So that's the solution. It means I can start this build next week, I hope. It's basically a stick frame structure. The weather once again doesn't look fantastic next week, so if you can't get flying, get building. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't done so. You get to see all the updates that I do. Give it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Have a good day, everybody. Bye now.